All right, as promised, I'm going to have you work on a program for till around 9 o'clock or so like we did yesterday, and then go over it, and then go over chapter 14, which is the last chapter in the book. This program that's here, Florences Floral Creations, actually was a program out of the old copy of the book. It's been replaced with something, so this isn't in your book. But what I handed out to you was a 3-page bunch of papers that has this on the front page right here. And when you go and you run the actual application, when you run it, it should look like this when you run it. All right? I don't care about your colors. I don't care about what fonts you use or how big you make it. That's not what's important. And you don't even have to put in this. I wanted to show you how you can add images to a picture box. You can do that if you want to. If you don't understand how to do it or whatever, you're going to see it in a little bit. But notice this is the important part. You've got a list box over here. Anniversaries, birthdays, funerals, and get well. If I click on any of them, it shows both the type of flowers that are considered good to give to those occasions and an image. So get well, funeral, anniversary, and birthday. Not all the images. I didn't resize any of them, so they don't line up perfectly. I wasn't that concerned with that. But what you should be doing in here are really a couple things. First of all, again, when the program starts to run, what you should have are, at a minimum, you should have a label here, a label here, a label here, and 2 list boxes. Again, don't be that concerned about this. I'll show you the code for this in a bit. Then, as soon as you click on any one of these, doesn't matter which one, then the appropriate flowers for anniversary should go here, birthday should go here, funeral should go here, get well should go here. And after you've done that, if you click on any of these entries, it doesn't matter which one, it should come down and there's an invisible, right here, there's an invisible label that says, good choice. All right? And then as soon as you go and click again, the good choice goes away and the box comes up. Is what you're supposed to do, does it make sense to you? All right? So again, you want to make sure that when you run it, when you run the program, you've got 2 different list boxes. I implemented this thing as a 2-dimensional array. So we haven't talked about those. Well, you're going to see it. There are different ways that this can be done. I'm not going to lie to you and say, yeah, the way I did this is the best way. The way I did this is a way. All right? There's not really a whole boatload of code that we're going to have to go over. And we will go over it slowly, but I'd like you to try this. Get used to working with list boxes. Get used to selecting items in list boxes. All right? And get used to having things happen when you select an item in one list box, how it can affect another, and when you select an item in that second list box, how it can change the program's interface. All right? So you've got everything in front of you. What I did, just so you see this, and I can email this to you right now. I just went out on Google Images and got the anniversary and got the birthday and got this. It's Florence's Floral Creation. I just found a woman with flowers. Now that's Florence. Funeral and get well. All right? I can send you all those things. So if you want to try to work with them, you can, or you can get your own. You can go into Paint and resize the images so they're all the same size, which would look a little nicer than mine does. There's a lot of stuff that could be done. Not only that, I started writing this, and I didn't realize when I was writing it, don't ask me why, I wasn't really paying any kind of attention. But when I started to run this, I didn't go back and rename this stuff. So that's list box 1, list box 2, picture. I wish I wouldn't have done that. I didn't feel like going back in and refactoring the stuff. I just left it the way it was. So again, what we'll look at in a bit is my code and there's about 120 lines. But in those 120 lines, the first 30 are just the using statements and comments that I put in there. So it's about 90 lines. All right? It's not really that much code. One big routine here, this is how I set the picture. And again, that's about 20 lines. So there's not a lot that you have to key in. All right? Just like the one that we went over yesterday, all right, a finished product of this will be due on Friday. So tomorrow, what we'll do, since we're going over Chapter 14 today, we'll go over one more program tomorrow, a program from Chapter 14, all right, and that'll take about probably from 8 till 9. The rest of the period tomorrow will be lab, and Friday will be lab. Again, I'm going to assume that people who are turning in anything from our entire book, it will be turned in by the time you leave here on Friday. All right? I am planning on grading the stuff this weekend. I don't know exactly when. All right? So, like I said, just like yesterday, I'll give you till about 8:50 or so, then get a break in, then right around 9 o'clock, I will go over what I did so you can take a look at it. All right? And I said someplace in here, I do have this that's got all my images in it. Okay? So I'll send that out to you right now. If you want to use that, fine. If you want to use your own, that's also fine. If you don't want to do it at all with images, that's fine as well.
Did you put the pictures in the group box?
I put the pictures inside of the picture box, not a group box. All right, if you look up on the screen, you can see this is my interface for the problem I assigned you. So I've got a label here, a label here, a label here, and a label here. So as you can count, I've got 4 labels. I've got 2 list boxes, and I have a picture box. And the only reason I put that in is because they mentioned in the book that picture boxes can be used to hold images. You don't have to put this in. The rest of it, though, should be functional. All right, first thing is, in my load event, what I wanted to do was just 2 things. I wanted to take the label that said good choice. So that label, label 3, is this one right here. I wanted to make that invisible when I first start the program out. And then next, I wanted to figure out what image I wanted to put in that picture box. All right? So if you look, this is that routine. Now I'm going to have to shrink it down a bit so you can see all the paths and everything in here. But basically what it says is if I haven't selected anything in the list box, which will mean there's no text selected. So if I haven't selected anything, just fill the image up with the picture of the woman, Florence. All right? Otherwise, if what I've selected in the image box is anniversary, fill up the image with the anniversary JPEG. All right? Otherwise, if it's birthday, fill up the image with the birthday JPEG. Otherwise, if it's funeral, fill it up with a funeral JPEG. Otherwise, if it's get well, fill it up with the get well JPEG. All right, that should handle every case. I don't have a final else in there. I could have just taken this if that I have that says if there's nothing in there, And I could have put it down at the bottom and just used that as an else if I wanted to. But the bottom line is what this is saying. This is supposing, if you look up on the screen here, this is supposing that you created an images folder under your project, and in that images folder you dropped in the images I gave you, or you created your own. All right? So again, based on what we put in here, what we picked in here, if we pick nothing, have just a picture of the woman. If we picked anniversary, have the anniversary picture. Birthday, pick the birthday picture. Funeral, pick the funeral picture. Get well, pick the get well picture. And you've already been shown what those are. So I don't think we have to go over them again. All right, any questions on that? Again, you don't have to do that. I just put it in there again to show you how you can add an image to a picture box. All right? And if you say, well, how'd you figure this out? How'd you figure out what that path was? Well, what I did was you can highlight any of the images, and notice if we go into the properties down at the bottom, it says full path. So I copied that. All right, fine. I can see how you did that. How did you add why did you add the @ sign? Because that's what you are asked to do when you are setting the image property for a picture box. How did I know that? I Googled it. That's it. There's nothing fantastic about what I did here. All right. All right, then let's take a look at the rest of the stuff that's in here. If you look up at the top of the program, as mentioned earlier to you, I created a two-dimensional array. All right? I didn't even name one of the dimensions, but this would be what? That would be, anniversary, birthday, funeral, get well. And how did I figure out these? I actually did take the time to go out and look online. I Googled flowers for an anniversary, suggested flowers for a funeral, etc. All right? I don't really care what you put in there. They ask you to put at least a couple of them. All right, but again, that's not really very important. But it does show you how you can set up a two-dimensional array. All right? All right, and that's all I had for global variables in there. All right, there were no global constants. I couldn't see making a constant out of anything. Probably could have, I don't know. So, when the first list box, the selected changed index runs whenever you click an entry in that list box. That is the default entry. How do you know that? You just double click on it and notice what it brings up. So I said, whenever you click on one of those, what do I want to do? Well, I want to clear out everything that's in that second list box. I want to take that, so I want to clear this out. I want to take that label that's there and make it invisible. And then I want the list box, the second one, to be visible. That's it. Like I said, it wasn't a lot of rocket science in here. And then I configured what picture to put into the picture box, which I already went over with you. All right? This, take a second to go over it. But in English, what it's saying is, if I click this one right here, fill up the stuff from the array with the first element. If I pick this, the second element, this, the third element, this, the fourth element. And how? Well, like this. You'll notice that we've got a for loop which is going to loop through everything that's in there, and it's looking to see which list item I selected. And then once it finds the list item I've selected, it cycles through and it fills in everything from the array. All right, it's kind of nice in that the whole program itself is around 100 lines. But it's fairly powerful in that it shows a lot of the different stuff that you can do with a lot of the controls we didn't really spend much time talking about this semester. So again, at a minimum, what I'd expect your program to be able to do would be, forget the picture box right now. You should all be able to add the labels. You should be able to fill this list box, and then when you click on one of these, you should fill that list box and make sure that it's visible. When you click on any of these entries, this list box should disappear. That's just setting the visible property to false. And then this label, which says good choice, should come up. My question to you is, what I just said, does that make sense? What I'm asking you to do in there, does that make sense? Because if there's any questions, this is the time for you to ask. All right, I've tried to go over every bit of code. Again, I am taping this as well. All right. So with that said, let's start on the last chapter of the book, which is on files and streams, which is on page 645. All right. So let me stop this run.